Back in Bold, a beautiful day in basically the Swiss Alps, my friend. I'm in Gromado. I can't even pronounce it. Rio Grande do Sul, the farthest state in South Brazil, and I feel like I'm in the Alpines, Switzerland. It's freaking gorgeous, very touristic, but so far I'm loving it. I just arrived today. I'm drinking. I got some interesting Brazilian beer here. I told you got to bring
Yeah,
some beer. I know you're in
figured
Colombia.
I'd join you. Yeah,
The BBC,
Colombia.
that's the best one. The black one,
Yeah,
big fan of
yeah,
it.
bro.
So cheers, Mr. Mike.
Cheers, man.
But no, we've been
Thanks
kind of
for
seeing
having me
each other,
on.
yeah, back and forth on the Twitter, the Instagram. I know you're into food. You've been traveling a lot. Kind of tell the people, who you are and why we should listen to you.
Yeah, so my name is Mike Bolton. I am a food blogger. I started kind of like an Instagram food blog back in like 2017. Grew a following and all this, and then eventually ended up doing social media management, social media marketing for restaurants. Yeah, but it was a super cool journey, and like at sort of the peak of my food blogging career in this, it was just like going around Toronto, and restaurant owners would just be like, try whatever you want, open bar, all the food you want. It was a pretty cool experience, yeah.
So tell me what that, because this is like a good opportunity for dudes on the road. Like I've done it with like hotels where I say, hey, look, let me make you a video, not necessarily just for like my page, because like I'm not huge, I'm not some huge influencer or whatever, but you can use this content, drone footage, creative editing to post on your pages, use it for your socials, right? You cut deals, you get free stays. How did that work with making money? Because a lot of people don't understand this whole influence game. They think you have to be a Kardashian to get paid to do these different things. It's not the truth, no?
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't that, especially because my page was like predominantly focused on like the local Toronto food scene, right? So, especially if you want to be like a micro influencer or whatever, if you hyper focus on like one region, then you actually almost become more valuable because like most of my followers were people in Toronto, right? So, yeah. Yeah, even at 10 or 15,000 followers, I was getting deals.
Yeah, yeah. So go through that process for me. Are you going to the restaurant saying, "Hey, look, here's my past work. Obviously I want the free food, but give me some money on the side." Like, what's kind of the income, the economy of this niche micro influencer world?
Yeah, so back in the day, what it used to look like was usually I would just message them and I'd be like, "Hey guys, your food and restaurant look amazing. I've I'd like to come in and feature you guys on my page, to get you some more exposure, that kind of thing." I forget exactly what my pitch was, but it was something along that line. And sometimes what I would do is I would organize like I'd bring like a food blogger friend, or sometimes I'd even organize like a whole group event where I'd bring like seven or eight different food bloggers from Toronto, and we get paid more for those ones. But I'm remembering back in the day, I think me and my buddy used to work out deals where it was like three to $500 to come into their restaurant, snap a couple shots, do like one or two, maybe three posts, that kind of thing. And but then there's a lot more money in it than that too, because you can do sponsored gigs with bigger brands. And now, see, I slowed down a little bit on the whole food blog. I still do it as a hobby in this, but I slowed down a bit after about 2021, especially when the whole COVID thing happened. I slowed down a bit. My buddy, who now has 100,000 Instagram followers, his name is Marcello Eats on Instagram. I actually kind of took him under my wing, and when I met him, he had 600 followers. Now he has 100,000. He's making even more money than I ever did with it. Like now he's getting like larger sponsorship deals, lots of social media management, marketing gigs. So he's doing well with it. Yeah, the sky's kind of the limit, honestly.
Okay, but like try to think right now. So 2025, some dude's on the road. He's making 2 to 3 grand, doing some remote job, but he wants to get creative and go pitch a restaurant in Medellin or start something with local businesses, especially restaurants. Like, how would you advise one of these dudes to kind of get in there, get their feet wet? I mean, does it take a long time? Is it worth it the time? Because I know now you kind of moved on to managing social media, but is this still a route
Yeah.
in 2025?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think it's honestly even more. It might be even more of a viable business now, just because Instagram Reels, the views on Instagram Reels, the impressions on Instagram Reels are nuts. Back in my day, like it was like and I still do it the same way now. It's all just like snapping photos. I kind of like keeping my page like that. But yeah, if you do the Instagram, if you do Reels and stuff, video gets way more traction, way more impressions from what I've seen. And yeah, if a guy, let's say a guy in Medellin wanted to start an Instagram food blog, probably what I would recommend is focusing on that, focusing on it being like Medellin or like Colombian food, or yeah, like go kind of local with it so that you can be like that guy that people look to as like, yeah, this guy covers Medellin, Bogota, and Pereira or something, right? Yeah, get known for something, and then you start to gain, you grow your audience. And I think once you're at, honestly, even if you were at, I don't know, 1 to 2,000 followers, you probably, even at that point, you get meals comped. And I mean, if you're really good at sales, you could probably negotiate deals anyway.
Yeah, it's just the interesting idea to think for a lot of these dudes on the road. And I know me, just seeing opportunity everywhere. I started doing a little agency a couple years ago for a separate thing, and then all of a sudden I'm like, damn, why can't I do this for this business or that person? And you just start seeing money and opportunities even outside of the USA. Because a lot of dudes that do this traveling, they make all their money from USA, right? Earn dollars, spend pesos, Hakuna Matata. But then you start working down here, it's treacherous, okay? You need to know what the hell
Yeah.
you're doing, because Latin America, the business is a whole different game. But just to kind of spark creative output, from these dudes that are on the road. How long have you been on the road, my friend?
I'll say one little quick thing first. In hindsight, it's like, okay, so we say like grow the Medellin page and this and that, right? Well, then the problem is, so what, you're going to be paid in Colombian pesos? Like, I mean, that's not going to work out too well for an American or a Canadian. So probably if I was trying to do it, I'd grow the page to attract attention and stuff. But then what I would do is I'd look for like bigger sponsorship deals from bigger companies, like Mercado Libre or some like gigantic Latin American companies, or Club Colombia or something, right? Or BBC or whatever it might be, and get sponsored by them, and then you just kind of keep featuring the local restaurants. So yeah, that's how you'd have to make it work if you're an American down in Latin America trying to make a food blog work, at least from a financial standpoint. Yeah, I've really been traveling South America for like the last 2 to 3 years. My first sort of taste of it was like actually Panama, Central America. I have a mentor in ghostwriting who I went down to Panama to meet him. And then when I was down there for like 2 weeks or so, halfway through the trip, I didn't want to overstay my welcome. I was actually sleeping on his couch. So I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go over to Medellin and check out Medellin, Colombia, because I'd heard that they'd been over to Medellin, and then went there for like 5 to 7 days, and I was like, wow, there's a whole other world, just 6 to 8 hours south of me in Canada. So, yeah.
A couple points there too. I've heard a lot of Canadians going to Panama. I've never been
Well,
there. It's not really a big popular spot for the American, but many Canadians have gone there. I heard it's like USA. It's really laid out, similar with the cities and the development, or what's kind of the vibe there?
and the U.S. dollars too. Like, yeah,
Yep, yep, yep.
you're spending in U.S. dollars. Panama is not exactly cheap. The reason why Canadians probably end up going to Panama is probably for that whole 0% tax, like what is it, territorial taxation law, where if you earn money outside of Panama, like they don't tax you on that. Yeah, of course you have to go through some loopholes to get that, but I think that's probably why some Canadians got interested in that, because Canadian politics is also pretty messed up, as I'm sure you know.
But is it decent at all? Like I've heard mixed reviews. Not many people end up staying there. They keep going down south. How would you rate Panama overall? Panama City, I assumed you were in.
Yeah, yeah. Panama was cool. Panama, hot as fuck, of course. Like really balmy, you know. Rains a lot because of the and because it's coastal, it rains a lot as well. Um, Good restaurants. It is a cool spot. Like the inner like Panama City is pretty modern as well. Overall, I'd say though it's a good place to stay for a little while. I don't know, especially with those temperatures. I don't know if I'd want to stay there year round. And you don't have to. Even you can get that 0% tax thing without having to stay there year round. So
And the banking. A lot of people use the banking for different reasons, and it's quite popular. Ghostwriting, you brought up. Okay,
yeah.
so you transition from the foodie stuff. You still do it as a hobby, but now you're making serious money. From this ghostwriting, traveling the world, Hakuna Matata. What is ghostwriting for the layman? What are you talking about?
Yeah, so some people have heard about ghostwriting like from the standpoint of like you write a book for somebody, right? And that's like what the traditional sense of the word means, right? But then somewhere along the line, I don't know, like I feel like it became a lot bigger in 2020. And it's kind of also just a positioning thing, right? Because social media managers and stuff, they used to write posts for people, but there wasn't such an emphasis on like, I'm gonna nail your voice. I'm gonna make sure it's actually like proper to your tone. The way you'd actually say it in conversation. We do interview calls with our clients, kind of like what you and I are doing here, where I come with like open-ended questions. It's almost like a podcast and stuff. And yeah, then we use that to write all of their content. And yeah, I've done it for Twitter and for LinkedIn. Kind of switched more to LinkedIn because LinkedIn's a little more predictable growth, a little more business oriented. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So dive into it. So any different industry you're working with, or are you niching down? You had the conversation with them. You're just tweeting 5 times a day, something to drive leads, give some solid knowledge. Because like obviously now you see AI nonstop. Okay, especially in this Latam bro Twitter bubble. You're thrown into. I know a couple dudes who are like, hey, I have no time. Okay, so I threw it all through the AI and it posts 10 times a day. I get my leads through it. Hakuna Matata. It sounds somewhat like them, but you can tell. Everyone that uses AI can tell when it's okay, the dashes or certain phrases. But what exactly is this ghostwriting accomplishing? It's just getting their reach out there more and get me into the specifics of it. Isn't it dying out with the AI?
Okay, so yeah, a lot we can definitely cover there. I haven't really niched down, and I know like people love to say like niche down and that. I think there is a time to niche down, but I've worked with everybody from like guys in SEO or just one guy in SEO, health and fitness coaches, CRM consultants, executive leadership coaches, agency owners who coach agency owners. A guy with a gigantic YouTube channel who was like a video games coach and had a whole like consulting agency on teaching people video games. Those are just some off the top of my head. It's equal parts about like growing your brand, which obviously can lead to money down the road. Like, as you know, right? It might not be like so direct, right? But you build your brand, and then like as you grow and grow, what can come from that? Sponsorship deals, speaking events, opportunities for your business, leads. So it's like brand building is not just about getting like 5 leads tomorrow. It's about like in a year from now, you might be able to make like one post that does get you 5 leads or does get you 10 leads or get you a speaking event or get you like high value connections in your industry, right? So it's the value of a brand I almost feel is kind of immeasurable in a way. I've seen that myself even with my food blog page. I had a deal come through on my food blog page like 3 weeks ago, and it's just like it's a sponsored deal, and you know. It's not even related to what I do with the food. That's but these people, this marketing company reached out to me just because I have a large audience and some traction in that. So yeah, does that answer the question?
Yeah, so but you go in there and you're just writing tweets. You're creating content on LinkedIn, like Bold Perceptions. You're going through this with me. Okay, we're having our podcast interview at the moment, and then right after this, you figure out how I speak, what I think about. Now what are you doing? You're gonna go start tweeting. Okay, the coolest countries to do this or that, or what's your kind of step by step to help out people who want to get into that kind of business. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So step by step to get into the business. My recommendation is to first of all look to your own network. I feel like almost everybody knows somebody who has some sort of a business, right? Like whether that's online business or like brick and mortar. Like everybody knows a real estate agent or a lawyer or whatever it might be, or somebody with an online business, right? So it's like, first of all, look to your own network. And I'd say, look to your own network and then look for an opportunity, even just to do some work for free. Like something, I joined a mentorship program, which really helped me in terms of getting my start in ghostwriting. But even with me, I knew that I need to create some form of leverage here. I need some form of proof. So what I did is I just looked to my network. I'd been in another mentorship program with a guy who had like a Facebook ads agency. He was actually doing something similar to me as I was doing in restaurant marketing, but he had like 33 followers on Twitter. And he saw me at the time, I think I had like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. And he saw how fast I was growing. And I was giving him little tips and stuff. But I just said to him, I'm like, tell you what, man, like, why don't I help you write like an auto DM giveaway post? I think you could probably grow like 100, 200 followers or whatever. And basically just hopped on a Zoom call with him and told him how to write the hook, helped him with the hook, helped him with the lead magnet. He grew by like 300 followers in like a 48-hour time span, right? And then I just used that one post to gain leverage. I tweeted about it with like screenshot and a little testimonial from him. 15 minutes after I post that, I had somebody reach out to me, and then that guy became a coaching client at like a one-time payment of like 3,000 USD, right? So use your network first of all to leverage that, and you'll be able to negotiate a much better deal with your network. And why would you be reaching out to strangers to write for free for them, right? Like, it's so much better to just help out a buddy, and they're going to be like way more receptive to giving you a testimonial and all that. And then the way you leverage that, and then your next gig will probably be a paid one. So that would be my advice.
I like that. I'm lagging a little, but you can still see me fine, hear me fine.
Yeah, we had this one moment where it was like 10 seconds where you cut out, but yeah, I think we're pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, you brought up Twitter. I didn't really use Twitter until like the last 2 years, but through Twitter, I met a lot of people. I've networked a lot with this podcast, getting different guests on, a lot of cool people, good people. Is this probably, the best leverage tool? I said you do a lot with LinkedIn, but it seems like on Twitter compared to Instagram or YouTube, it's way more personal and communication. Like if I was to start a business, I would hop on Twitter right away and make moves. Is that not the case for you?
Yeah, so for certain genres or niches, I feel like Twitter is 100% the best place. Like for what you're doing, Twitter's amazing. I also think Instagram's probably really good for you. But yeah, then there's like certain businesses. If a guy is like a CRM consultant or something like B2B, that kind of thing, then like LinkedIn makes more sense for him. But yeah, like on Twitter, like about a week ago, I tweeted something. It was a little bit controversial, but I racked up like 25,000 impressions out of nowhere, and like 400 or 500 likes. And I got like, and one dude was like, I'd love to meet, like, I don't I haven't even had a chance to like go through all the comments, but he's like, I'd love to meet you for a coffee, and he's down in Colombia here, so it can lead to a lot of conversations. And if you're in a niche like that, that's a little bit more counterculture, you know, not B2B in this, Twitter's 100% the place, and Instagram for sure.
Yeah, 100%. It gets a little wild on Twitter, especially with Elon at the helm. I mean, it's free game for the most part. But so you said you've been on the road 2-3 years, I assume after COVID. So you're Canadian. You had the Toronto food
Yep.
blog, so you went through hell and back during that crazy period. Is that a big reason why you kind of jump shipped and went down south?
Yeah, well, that's 100% why I got out of food blogging and restaurant marketing is because basically COVID. I didn't like a lot of the restrictions that went on during COVID, and then on top of that too, in 2022, when everything started opening up again in Canada, all the restaurants and this, I did get back into it, and I did sort of like hit the ground running, and I did have my best year in restaurant marketing in 2022. But through having my best year and also trying to charge more, I also realized like, wow, restaurants really don't make a lot of money. Um, and then not on top of that, they were also in so much debt because of COVID, right? So not only do they not make that much money, but then you also have COVID. So, and they make like 3 to 5% profit margins, by the way. Like not everybody knows that. Some restaurants, the really fancy ones, Michelin star, this and that, with like that sell cocktails, maybe they're on the 60th floor, like rooftop of some place. They might make like 10 to 15% profit margins, right? So I really looked at the numbers, and at the same time, I was in a coaching program where guys were charging like $6,000 retainers. And there I was trying to charge like a $2,000 retainer, and having restaurant owners tell me that that was like out of their budget and stuff. So I'm like, maybe I'm actually in the wrong business. And then that's what led me to ghostwriting. I met my mentor through another coaching program, and he said he was launching a program, and then the rest is history.
What was the spark to go down south though? Was it just like the cost of living? Was it the freedom? Was the Latinas? You know, what is the story going, to Latin America?
Yeah. So you know how I was briefly talking about Panama, right? I went down to Panama actually because my mentor, Dakota Robertson, little shout out to him. He's actually he's got a huge presence on Twitter and LinkedIn and that, but he named me like the #1 student in his program, and then as my like reward in this, he's like, we'll fly you down to Panama, and you can hang out with me and my buddy Talon and his business partner Dale, and they were all in Panama living in this condo together, and went down, met them. Like I was saying, got that little taste of like Medellin, Colombia, and I was just like, okay, so the weather, I can completely avoid the Canadian winters. That was one thing. Cost of living, obviously cheaper. The culture, the Latinas. Let's be honest. and yeah, like I don't know, man. It's just once you experience it, I think it all makes sense. You'll have guys like in America who've never left their hometown talking shit about like passport bros and stuff, but it's like, dude, you've never left your hometown. You have no idea like what it's like to kind of get out there and the freedom and independence of it all, you know? So, oh, and I was earning all my money online, so it's like, why wouldn't I, right?
See, I grew up in Minnesota, so you got half the year of the snow and the crappy weather, and once you leave that, you're like, how can you ever live in that again? Seasonal depression and all that. You get used to it growing up in it, but once you escape, you're like, holy shit, half of my life is going to be in this kind of weather. You just can't do it. But have you lived there full time for these years, or are you taking breaks? Because that's the next thing is like a lot of dudes, there's some truth to the dudes that bash, the passport bros or the traveler types that are in Latin America, because this is not functioning society in lots of parts of Latin America, okay? And any sane gringo, I've said many times, cannot live here full time. You go wild, right? So,
Mm.
has that been your experience, or do you stay there full time?
I'm not here full time. No, I go back. Honestly, it's more. It's usually about 6 months at a time. It's like
Okay.
6 months. Then it's like back in Canada for like 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months, and then back down again. I've noticed a little bit of a tour that I've sort of been doing is like Colombia for 6 months. Like I'll do the 3 months, then I'll extend and get that 90-day extension in Colombia. Then I'll go back to Canada, and then what I did last year anyway was like a sort of I did Argentina, Paraguay, Brazil in that sort of like September to December period. And now here we are. Like now I'm doing a Colombia for like 22 days, um, Argentina for it's either going to be 2 weeks or a month. We'll see. And then Paraguay, and then probably over to Brazil. We'll see. Maybe Florianopolis. I have a buddy over in Florianopolis.
Yeah, there needs to be a balance. Okay, I think I spent most of my travels in Europe. I spent 2 years in Brazil, a lot of time in Mexico. I was in Argentina for a while, Peru, and it's like it's that 6 month mark when you're down in Latin America where you're like, holy shit, nothing makes sense. I can't compute this in my gringo brain, and you need to get out of here. Okay, otherwise you get really lost in the sauce, you lose your mind. So it's a great balance. I think Argentina has the best mix of Europe and Latin America, where you can still feel a resemblance of, in quote, civilization, even south of Brazil, but there's still a lot of shit that's crazy down here. But for anyone that thinks that you can just go and be down here and not have a lot of growing pains, it's completely opposite. Okay, so just be ready for that for the dude that takes the jump. But Colombia has stolen your heart. Okay, a lot of dudes they say that, especially Medellin. A lot of dudes they bash Medellin. Okay, I finally went there. After visiting most of Colombia last year, I did a month in Bogota, Cali, then Santa Marta, Cartagena, a month in each place, and I went to Medellin
How'd
finally
you
for
like
2 weeks.
Bogota, by the way? How'd you like Bogota?
It's not bad, but not. I mean, I
Okay.
wouldn't go back. I went base there, but I finally went to Medellin. Dude, 2 weeks was amazing. Met a lot of good people. The gringos on the Twitter. The vibe was
Okay.
good. The weather was beautiful. All the negativity I heard about it, I didn't experience it firsthand. I saw the craziness, in El Poblado, and when things get wild. But for the most part, it's still a very amazing city. But is Colombia just has your heart? Do you speak Spanish, or what is the story with staying there?
Man, I don't know if it's just because I've been so busy with business when I've been down here, but I have been horrible, in my opinion anyway. Maybe I'm a little hard on myself. Horrible at picking up Spanish. But with that said, how many hours have I really dedicated to learning Spanish? Like, very few and far between. So, I don't know. How about yourself? You fluent in Portuguese and Spanish?
Hola, bonita, ¿cómo estás?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, muy bien, that shit. I talk
yeah.
with my hands, I talk with my vibe. So, like, yeah, I'm lazy too with it. But luckily for me, like when I go half the year, I'm usually with a community of people that speak English through this American football. You know what I mean? And they want to learn more English, so you're thrown in this. The other half of the year, I'm like, okay, I just want to be on my own. I don't want to hear, what this Brazilian or Italian or Cambodian has to say on the street. Just be my own world. You know what I mean? But when I buy a home, when I start settling down, when I make my bases, I gotta learn it. And I think Spanish is gonna be the one because there's so many places in the world that I can get by with Spanish, right? Like Portuguese, okay, you can go to Brazil, Portugal, and some places in Africa, basically. But Spanish is basic Spanish will get you far, in the world. So I gotta learn it. But Americans, we're very ignorant, very arrogant as well. We're English, you speak it or you don't.
Yeah, yeah. Like you always hear about like once you learn one other language aside from your native language, I think it becomes a lot easier because you meet these guys and it's like they speak like four languages or whatever. So like some guy who speaks like English, Spanish, German, and Portuguese, right? I think once you get like a couple of them, it becomes a little easier. But if you just grew up with that native tongue for so many years, you became very good at speaking that one language, but it's very hard to pick up other languages, I think. Or nah, but I'm just saying that as an excuse because I haven't put enough time into it. I need to like sign up for like a coaching Zoom calls or something with somebody who can teach me.
No, 100%. But like a lot of dudes don't realize is that you can go most of the world, survive and thrive with only English, okay? Because a lot of business is done in English. A lot of the high society of places, they all speak English. They went to international schools. So, you go to the cafe, you point with your hand, you can use a Google Translator. But through all the places I've been in the world, through all the places I've lived, not knowing English has not hurt much besides like relationships, okay? Like deep relationships to go to the next level and you can't communicate, with women, dating obviously, but even, dudes, your friends, like, they can't really express fully different things and that limits how far a relationship can go, right? So that does hurt. There's cons to that, but the ROI, I don't know, because it's a lot of time. You have to put a lot of effort in there. Even living these places, I pick up a few things. Like I can get by, in Portuguese and Brazil, like somewhat, I can understand, but it's a whole different game that you have to, put a lot of hours in for sure.
Yeah. I was thinking to myself there, like, without Google Translate, if Google Translate was not a thing, I'll bet you I would have learned Spanish like by now, or maybe more of it, because I would have been forced to learn it, because you can hold up the phone and go in conversation mode and have a whole conversation with somebody with Google Translate, right? Like, I've went on dates like that, so.
It's about the vibe,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like 90% of communication is the body language, just the vibe overall. It's not even about speaking. So it's totally doable, totally fine, but it's limiting. If you want to get really deep into something, a lot of times you got to learn the language. But my friend, okay, so tell me really about Latin America. What is drawing you down here? What excites you? Why would you tell someone, back home that never left to give it a shot or do a little solo traveling?
I mean, if I was talking to a Canadian or American, it's like, okay, you can completely, like, especially if you're in like the north of the US, right? You can completely dodge the winter. That's one thing. Number two is like, if you're a remote worker, why aren't you curious about other places in the world, their culture, getting away from the norm? I don't know, I'm a creative guy in this, and I find that the novelty of being in a different country, different city, it does something for me creatively where it's like, I don't know, I have like endless ideas all of a sudden. It's like I'm just inspired by my surroundings, right? So that like,
your brain is breaking. You have no patterns, right? So the patterns are shattered and your brain's working overtime and you see all these different things. When you have
yeah,
patterns in normal life, you're on autopilot. Your brain fucking
yeah.
shuts off and you just go through the motions, right? So you go to these new environments, these new languages, the architecture, the new food. It's like holy shit, the synapses in your brain shoot like crazy.
Exactly. I actually wrote about that today, oddly enough, and I posted on LinkedIn, of all places. But I talked about how the whole like independence and solitude, and like when I'm in like a lot of time I'm solo traveling, right? When I'm solo traveling like this, like, in a way I have like less distractions unless I want to be distracted, and then like you can there's plenty to do. You can do that, right? But I actually do some of my best work here, and just the independence, the freedom of it, like you were talking about, that outside sort of novelty. I mean, you were talking about the synapses of your brain. You're getting like deep into the science there, but like, yeah, it's that, just even sitting in a cafe in like Buenos Aires, like with your headphones on when everything's like bustling in this, like, and writing a social media post. I don't know. It brings out something else in me, I'd say. Then there's cost
100%.
of living. Yeah.
Yeah, 100% on that creative aspect. But tell me, like, there's a lot of people that just consume. Okay, So, what would you say to someone that, just scrolls, does their 9 to 5, goes to a restaurant, eats, like, is never creating, right? I think everyone has something inside of them that they can give, but they're afraid to make that LinkedIn post. They're afraid to post some photography on Instagram, make a dorky YouTube video. What would you say to someone who's sitting on the fence, like, damn, maybe I have something to express, but I'm too scared because Joe and Bob are going to say something, but the benefits, I mean, greatly outweigh when you do it.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you said, like, for the person that is thinking in the back of their mind, maybe I do have something more to give, because I really do think like there's a percentage of the population, but I don't think they have any desire to create. Like, they're,
Dude, I told you this before we had this. I said I got banged up yesterday playing a game, and I think I got a minor concussion. And today, like I was on in the car, and my brain was like, I just want to scroll through videos, listen to music, and not do math in my head. Like I felt like I was a NPC. I'm like, damn, is
welcome
this a
to the
lot of
life of an NPC.
yeah, is this a lot of the world that lives this way? Where it's just like duh duh duh, and it was a funny moment. But I think my brain's somewhat back right now, so hopefully I sound decent.
Yeah, no, you're good. But for the person, yeah, for the person who has it sort of in the back of their mind, like, yeah, I could do more, but I feel like I'm trapped in my 9 to 5 or whatever it is. I know some people like this. I've also helped some people like this, like just even like some buddies of mine where they were really trapped in that sort of like corporate 9 to 5 world and stuff. But I could tell that they had that other thing. They got that other thing inside of them where they want to create, they want to build something, right? I don't know, man. It's 2025. It's probably been never been easier to actually start a business because of social media and the whole online space. So, what's the worst that can happen, right? And I mean, not to mention that you can start posting literally today with no risk, because you could still work your job for a bit and then, like, get consistent with the content, some like figure out a way to monetize it, and then make the leap when it makes sense. Like, I quit my job when I got 2 restaurant clients. But I'm more of a risk taker, right? Some people would need like 5 clients before they would do that, right? Yeah, so I don't know. For those who really want it, like, take the leap of faith, because you only get one life. And shit, man, like, I don't know. I have a lot of things in my life that are a reminder of you only have one life. You don't even know how long you're going to be here. So why would you play by someone else's rules? Like, do what you want, do something you love, do something you're passionate about. The reward will be amazing.
Do you think that fear they have is greatly exaggerated in their brain? I mean, can you speak on that when you're about to make that post and oh, no one likes it, or what is Susie going to think about me? Talk about that fear that everyone has about getting judged.
Yeah, that whole fear of like getting judged in that's something that like I haven't had in years, but that's just because of reps, right? Like, I've been posting online for like 8 years now, and I'm like, when somebody's like, oh, I don't even get people I know criticizing me now, because it's just been so many years where it's just like, how could they? Like, they've probably caught wind of the fact that I'm in entrepreneurship and posting online, right? So, but in the beginning, yeah, no, it's a very real thing. Like, Susie in the office might actually criticize you, or Brian, or whatever, right? But yeah, in the beginning, I guess it's a little bit different. How do you get over that? I think it's you just have to take the leap of faith. You just have to start posting. The only way you're going to get over that is by posting and having Susie talk some shit, and then realizing you actually don't give a fuck, because you have bigger goals, and why you're trying to please Susie in corporate when you're trying to build a online business. So
Yeah, 100%. Looking at the bigger picture, then the little bullshit, moves out of the way. You start doing it after time, you realize no one actually gives a fuck, unless they care, less they support it. They're like, damn, this is pretty cool. It starts separating people in your life. And the people that hate on it, they think about it for 1 minute of their day and they move on to every problem they have. So it's very
Something is
hard to concept.
something as well, like just to point out, sorry to cut you off there, but like it's like you got to understand it comes from a place of like jealousy and envy a lot of the time. Like like even if it's deep down inside, like Susie in corporate, Brian, whatever, they're kind of like, it's pretty cool though that like he's down in like Medellin or something or Argentina, when it's like if I want to get 2 weeks off, I have to like literally ask my boss, and my boss could deny me that time, right? So that it's probably coming from a place of envy, and also just not understanding that world. Which, if I completely want to flip the perspective, it's kind of cool that not everybody understands this world, this thing that we're doing with the whole online business space. Because if they did, the competition would also go up too. And I kind of maybe prefer it this way too, that not everybody wants to start an online business tomorrow, right? So,
100%. And like, I don't think I've ever made a YouTube comment on a video before I did Bold Perceptions for sure. But even now, maybe a friend, I watch his video, I say, hey, good job. I never tried to talk bad to someone on a YouTube video. Like Instagram Reel, I see these videos and all these people, commenting on them, mine included. I'm like, this is what you spend your time on? Like, I never do this shit. If it's my friend, like, hey, you look great, you know what I mean? But this is the people that you're getting judged by, that you have no, like, you would never be in their shoes. You have no time to live and waste your time, commenting on bullshit. It's crazy, right? So, and the funny thing is, those are the people that make you money online. Those are the ones that push the video, get the debate going. Like, they're used as a tool to blow it up. But yeah, I think everything just gets cleared when you start putting yourself out there in any way. You know what I mean? Not just online, but in life. When you start putting your foot down, you see who fucks with you, you see who doesn't, you see who you want in your life, and you see what really matters or not. Because, like I was saying, a lot of these people, they see this for 1 minute of their day, and they think, oh, okay, whatever, and maybe make a stupid comment, and they forget about you. They worry about not paying their rent bill and getting McDonald's for their 5-year-old kid. Like, they have worries of their own, So you get over it really fast, and you become immune to it. And that's why I give so much credit to like the huge people. You know what I mean? Like the Paul brothers, who are masters at fucking marketing and reach and all that. But all these big influencers who just play the game and let it all go off their back. Because imagine everyone yelling at you or hating you and saying all these things about you, but you just keep it moving.
yeah, you get so much better at that, by the way, like that whole thick skin, part of the game. Because in the beginning, it can be pretty brutal. You take it a little bit more to heart. Like, I think a lot of people would relate to that. But eventually, yeah, you actually don't, you give less fucks about it. Like, because you realize that a lot of people are having very knee-jerk type responses, like what you're saying. It's like they have that response, but a minute later they'll forget about it, because that's all they're doing. They're going from one post to the next, talking shit, just negativity. And actually, like, people who are doing that, they're in a pretty negative space. It's like Gary Vaynerchuk is a guy I like, and he talks about that, where it's like you have to kind of like empathize with people who are in that position in a way, because if that's how you're spending your time, you are kind of in a negative space. Positive people don't really do that.
100%. I think when you first start doing it, you you can't like differentiate between the real world and online, because in the real world no one just straight up talks shit to you, or there's gonna be problems, right? Like like this is not what happens. And also online you get some of these dudes, you're like, what, are you serious?
Nobody ever
Yeah.
talks. Nobody ever
Oh,
talks shit to me in the real world, and then like online, they love to talk shit.
so yeah, it's weird for the brain to, I think, conceptualize it, and then like I said, you get used to it and so forth. But it is a game. It is one big game. I refuse to go down like the rage baiting. I'll have some fun. Like I be with the Brazilians. It's so easy to get them worked up on the Instagram with the reels, with the feuds they have north versus south, and gringos being stupid down here. But like I don't want to be that guy, that just gets engagement off negativity, right? Because I think that's a cycle that's gonna fuck with you. But when they start pushing their own negativity on it, I don't mind, because that's when everyone else comes in and fights each other, and then that gets to the eyeballs of people that you want to see your content.
You know what you can do that actually does work well is you can keep it high class yourself and kind of just ask them like, oh, like that's interesting that you feel that way or whatever, and or like just keep it like very like clean and this, but even just being calm and responding to them will drive them crazy, and then they will comment again. But yeah, you don't want to get too caught up in it because that also drives them wild, and then they're likely to try and like find something else about you. It's like, and they'll look at your picture or something and they'll be like, yeah, well, you have curly hair, or like, oh yeah, well, you clearly shave your head because you were like thinning a little bit or whatever, right? They're gonna find that like one thing that they know will kind of get under your skin a little bit, So
Yeah, there's some weirdos. There's some weirdos online for sure. My friend Mike. Okay, food though. Let's talk about South America, Latin America food overall. I think obviously Mexican food is legit. There's starting to be people that say, "Oh, it's overrated," but I think the spicy, the street food, I love it. I'm a really big fan. But the more south you go, I think Colombian food is shit. I think Brazilian food is not good. Besides the seafood, the seafood is cheap and good. Argentina, the meat is great. Asado in Paraguay is the best asado, bar none. A lot of people get mad, but a lot of people agree with that too. But overall, man, I mean, Peru's got good food. I'll give them that. What is the expert foodie? Talk to me about food here.
yeah, so I'll say right off the bat, like my Mexico experience is about a 23-hour layover, and that's it. So I can't speak too much on Mexican food. It probably is the top, And Peru, I've only heard good things. Graham, right? What Graham Lampton, is that his name? He
Yeah,
speaks
yeah,
like
yeah.
he speaks highly of the Mexican and the Peru food and this. He also talks shit about Medellin food, but there are some decent options in Medellin. There are. Yeah, so okay. Yeah, I kind of agree with your overall like synopsis of South American food, but like even Colombia, I find does have good food when you're talking about like the more tradition, like typical Colombian food, and then like steakhouses. So it's like the typical Colombian steakhouses, and then occasionally you get your sort of like international stuff. Like a city like Bogota actually does have like some good international options, like some Japanese and Mexican. Well, Mexican is very close, but yeah. Uh, I wrote a whole list of different like restaurants just in case you ask me, but I agree though. Argentina, it's about like the steakhouse, the asado, like that, and also Italian. They have some good Italian restaurants. They have probably some decent Spanish restaurants, although I didn't experience it firsthand. Um, Paraguay, I do agree, kind of does have the better meat. Like even you go to the local grocery store in Paraguay and you're getting like the best meat you've ever had in your life. So Paraguay, the real hack is to get an Airbnb with like a grill on the balcony and grill your own meat in Paraguay. I did that and like, oh my God, I got all into the whole asado culture. And then when I went to Brazil, I carried that with me. And I was in Florianopolis, Brazil, hanging out with some Brazilians and some tourists. And I was the one like manning the barbecue. And like they were telling me it was actually like legit because of the experience I gained in Paraguay. So
What
yeah.
is the difference? I think the spices, what they put on there, like they make it really flavorful in Paraguay compared to Argentina, and then the Brazilian steakhouses and whatnot. Something about the Paraguayan one just hits really good. And I know you're talking about you stayed in by Del Sol Shopping. What is that? The market? What is that
Oh,
famous one?
Shopping del Sol. Yeah. Did I tell you
What's
that?
the market though? No, everyone
Uh,
stays there. That's the name
yeah.
of the
Okay.
market.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And
What's the name of that grocery store at Shopping Del
Yeah,
Sol? I know, I
right
forget.
next to it, deli market.
Yeah.
I don't know something. But yeah, that's good. We go there all the time, and then my place that had the barbecue on my balcony. Then we had the upstairs where we did all the asados. I think asados are so big in Paraguay because it's so boring. We would have them like fucking 3 times a week because hang out with the guys, talk, and there's a very good gringo group, expat group there that
Yes.
always want to meet, do different things. But what is the difference between the asados in Paraguay, Argentina, and then the barbecues in Brazil?
Yeah. Okay, so if we want to talk about seasoning, Argentina obviously just like seasons with salt, right? Paraguay, I don't know. I don't know if Paraguay seasons differently, but here's my take. I actually heard that Paraguay is actually the place where there just actually is more beef farming. And not everybody knows that, but Paraguay apparently, even like a lot of the meat in Brazil, they're the ones shipping it out there, right? So yeah, that's what I heard. That's what I heard. I didn't do deep research on that topic, but my buddy in Florianopolis, Brazil, was like, "Yeah, bro, a lot of our meat actually comes from Paraguay and this and that, right?" So I trust his opinion, and then and then Brazil. You know, I can only speak so much on Brazil, but I will say if you go to a good butcher shop in Brazil, you're getting like top quality beef, much like almost equivalent to Paraguay or Argentina. Yeah, 100%.
And they do the bread thing too. So you dip it in like breadcrumbs or whatever. That's like a big thing with their barbecues. I like the
Mm,
steakhouses, the all you can eat ones. Those are solid.
yeah,
But again, overall, like I lived in Belo Horizonte, Minas, which is supposedly the best foodie place in Brazil. Bourdain did a episode there, and I think that's why it's super popular. But it's not that good at all. The overall food is not that good. The seafood is solid, dirt cheap, on the coast. But here's my thing. When people start talking about food, I lived 2 years in Italy. Okay, so I compare food to Italy, right? And oh my god,
this
this
is
is
what ruined you because I have been to Italy, right? And like I also went to Napoli, right? Napoli, Florence, Bologna, and Milan. But Napoli was definitely the best for food and like the best pizza you've ever had in your life. And this, yeah, it's if you compare it to that, I could see why you can put Europe over South America overall, maybe.
110%. An average Conad deli, a Conad is like a freaking Walmart in Italy, and the deli inside there is on par with high-end restaurants in Latin America. Like a freaking lasagna from them is like a five-star chef in Curitiba. To me, it's a whole 9 day difference. I also think in the Wandering Investor said the same thing. We were in Argentina and we were talking about like food down here because a lot of dudes that promote South America, Latin America, like the fresh food, all that kind of stuff. But a lot of it is not. A lot of it has the GMOs, like the shit, like even the USA won't put it in. And you go to these grocery stores, besides maybe like a Paraguay, that one. There's a lot of healthy stuff. Maybe in Festival in Brazil, it's like an expensive grocery store. A lot of it is shit. You know what I mean? Compared to Europe, you go to these average supermarkets and the stuff is fresh. There's no poison in it. There's a lot of cleanness to it. So I think there's a big difference in that. A lot of dudes like they act like it's not the truth, but yeah, if you go to the butcher, if you go to the real source, you can get it. But a lot of dudes are not eating that. They're eating iFood, they're eating Rappy, and they're going to these seed oil places. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I hate to burst some bubbles, but Latin America, South America, apparently in terms of vegetables and fruit, they spray even more pesticides apparently, or at least on par with that of like America or Canada. America might be the absolute worst because of things like Monsanto or something like that. Uh, your video is definitely going to get demonetized because I said Monsanto, but but yeah, but yeah, like apparently they spray quite a bit of pesticides down here as well. So
Yeah, crazy amount. A lot of it, Brazil takes on some of the worst chemicals from USA in their trade deal, and they use it all. Like there's a huge, and I see it too with the obesity. even the first time I came to Brazil was 2021. I went to Florianopolis. It's great. I love Floripa. Beautiful. But from then to now, I've noticed a drastic change in obesity with Brazilians. And I think it's only going more crazy. I've seen the statistics, the stats, like they're getting fatter and fatter. Then you see old photos of like Rio back in the day and everyone on the beach is, super skinny, and all that. And nowadays it's like, holy shit, obviously BBLs and, different form of beauty, but people are getting big down here. And I really think, the food is getting poisoned like it has been in USA.
Yeah, and it's also another thing too. They've introduced more of those fast food restaurants in places like Colombia, Brazil. Yeah, like I've also been to like Jamaica and that too, and like Jamaica's got KFCs and McDonald's and probably Starbucks. But yeah, Colombia, Starbucks, KFC. Is it McDonald's or Burger King? They have one of those. So yeah, that's another thing too. They've introduced the fast food down here more, which you get the seed oils, all that as well. So
But what's crazy though, they had the same thing in Europe. Okay, so like I'll never forget this. It was during 2020 COVID, or 2021, I forgot. And I was in Pisa to see the Leaning Tower of Pisa. There's no tourists at this time. Like it was totally empty of all that. And out in front of the tower, I have a photo of it. There's the subway guy with a thing, the guys that have the outfit on and they're waving the sign like go to Subway. The Subway is right next to the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Like American capitalism in all its glory versus one of the most historic landmarks. Everyone knows the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And the Italians are still skinny though. They have all these fast food restaurants. They have Domino's. They have lots of Domino's. They have shit American McDonald's everywhere and whatnot. But they're not fat. So I don't. It's weird to me, like the difference. And they say, oh, it's the Mediterranean diet and it's a lifestyle. They go walking and they do this and they do that, but they smoke, But it's a whole different. What do you think about RFK? What do you think about him and what he's got going on here?
I'll say one thing and I'll talk about RFK. It might be a difference in their bread also, eh? Because I think like Italians actually still have like high quality bread where it's like America, Canada, oh my God, like the bread is absolute crap, right? So yeah, like actual bread that's closer to like a sourdough or something like where it's real bread. I've heard that like back in the day, sourdough bread or just bread in general was so good that it was actually good for your heart. And you could almost like lose weight on a bread diet. So there's something maybe going on there with like the whole Italian culture for sure, because they eat a lot of pasta and bread and all that, right? So there's that. And then RFK, yeah, RFK. Yeah, I was doing some RFK impressions actually when I was with a friend in Medellin. The whole they're putting microplastics in your balls and that whole thing. He's a good guy. I think he's focused. He's very much focused on health and that, and he's getting he has a lot of attention on him from an American media standpoint, even though he's the enemy, right? Like, because he's supposed to be the right wing health sort of politician and such, but good guy overall,
Hey, as we wrap this thing up, I want to hear your thoughts though about Canadian-USA relations. Obviously, it's slowed down. I think your one dude folded on the tariffs with Trump recently. I think he took them off. But it was a big deal, man. Like, there was getting hostile. They're talking about the 51st, or what is it? Yeah, 51st states, all that. How do you feel? And what is the general perception in Canada when you were back there?
Yeah, it's so funny because right before I came back to South America, right before I came back to Colombia, I was hanging out with my uncle and my mom actually, and we went to a concert in Canada, and he told me it was like later that night. he got news on his phone. He's like, Mark Carney, the current Prime Minister of Canada, had just finally like folded on the whole tariffs thing, right? And there was this whole movement in Canada called Elbows Up. And it's like a hockey reference and stuff, but it was so like lame, okay? And the funny thing about that, though, what I will say is that like the Trump tariffs, and I am a little bit more right wing than your average person. Like I'm actually kind of like libertarian, kind of an anti-government actually, but the whole elbows up movement and being against tariffs, like everybody should care about that because it's kind of like weaponized financial warfare to some degree. They were putting like a 1.34 like tariff on Canada or something crazy like that, right? So conservatives should have been pissed off about that too. But because they positioned it as some like liberal elbows up movement, conservatives were like, that's so lame. I'm not getting on board with that. Even though it's actually more of a conservative issue. Anyway, let's not go down the political rabbit hole. In terms of how I feel about America in this, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Like, I got a buddy in Atlanta that's probably like one of my best buddies who I've never actually even met in person, which is random. But I met him through a mentorship program I was in. And yeah, but I have no animosity towards Americans. I think that, and overall, it's a darker note, but I think that people should get over their like different like country biases and stuff and realize who the real enemy is a lot of time. And a lot of time, it's your own government.
So, okay, don't want to get too political, but the Indian topic, because that is huge on social media. I see it all over the place that Canada is India now. Is that actually reality there?
So my tweet on Twitter very recently, it was something like, "Want to know why I love Colombia? It's because Colombia is full of Colombians, kind of like how Japan is full of Japanese, or Poland is full of Polish people." And then I said, Canada can't really say that now, right? And this just got people like riled up. I didn't expect that. Like I didn't quite estimate how much this would get under people's skin. But I tweeted that, not thinking much of it, while sitting at an airport, at Pearson Airport in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, had like, 2 beers deep or something, just like, nah, blah, 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 this and that, tweeted off, and then it just like exploded. But yeah, like the reason why I tweeted that is I looked around me and I'm like, I might be the only white person, like, or one of the few white people actually sitting here at this airport, like at this bar in the airport waiting for my flight, So yeah, it is a significant shift. I don't want to go ahead and say it's all Indians, but there's very few, like, where are the true-blooded, like, Canadians who are of European or British descent? That's what Canada is, aside from the natives and such, right? But it's like, let's look at the last, like, 300 years. It's it's been British and European settlers in Canada, and that's becoming few and far between.
Without the Twitter amplification, because Twitter amplifies everything. Like they told me I was gonna live in Sharia when I moved to Germany, and it was far from the truth. I had a great
Okay.
interview, and I saw some issues, but online it's like, oh my God, they're gonna cut your hand off if you do one wrong thing, but it didn't happen. How much different is it from when you grew up in Canada? Is it like that drastically of a change?
Well, I was growing up in Canada, like, sort of in the 90s when I was of an age where I could sort of like, think to any degree and have memories. But has it, interestingly, it was multicultural even then, right? Now, I have to be completely honest with you. It's gotten kind of next level. You drive through certain neighborhoods in Canada now, even some areas I grew up in, spent some time in. You might not spot a white person. I'm just saying. So what I said, even in that tweet, which honestly is like, people think that's controversial. I could go a lot deeper than that, but but anyway, yeah. So no, it has changed quite a bit, and I know that like Graham, who's also been on this podcast, also knows about that. He's Canadian. A lot of Canadians will understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you got to meet him. I think he'll be in Colombia soon, or maybe Peru. But beautiful, my friend. What do you got coming up here? Where are you going the next couple weeks, months? You're gonna go find me in Brazil or no?
Maybe. In about 2 weeks, though, 2 or 3 weeks, I'm going to Buenos Aires, Argentina. How much time I spend there, I don't exactly know, but probably I think it's going to be 2 weeks, and then right to Asuncion, Paraguay. You know what it is with, like we were talking about, Asuncion, is like, it's that whole expat digital nomad culture. Like I got into that a little bit, so I already know people there. I think that will be pretty cool. Plus the state
Ooh,
culture, all that.
name some
Oh,
names.
I know a dude named Darren. I forget his last name, and I also know the Plan B Paraguay
Rossi
guys a
guy.
little bit.
Rossi. I
Yeah,
met
yeah.
the Polish dude. Fuck, he's a good dude. He always has asados. I'm totally blanking his name right now. The
Hmm.
Australian guys he always hangs out with. Um,
Maybe not. Maybe not.
I
I
think
met these guys towards the very end of my Paraguay trip, and I got like into their whole like community and scene right towards the end, and then I was flying off to Florianopolis, Brazil. But I think it'll be cool to go hang out with those guys again. A lot of like-minded people, a lot of Canadians also, which I find very cool. And yeah, so it's going to be Buenos Aires, Argentina, Paraguay, and then probably like the south of Brazil towards the end. But maybe even like Sao Paulo, or like some other parts of Brazil too. I definitely got to explore Brazil more. So we'll
yeah, go to the
see.
Northeast. Northeast is amazing. It is. It has a bad reputation, but I love it. Obviously, the South is good. The South is very developed, safe, clean. There's a lot of good parts down here, but like the beaches of the North, the lifestyle, the beleza, it's good to spend money and chill there. Anything else, I wouldn't recommend, but you got to get up there and you got to experience like Brazil on steroids. Because like the South, you went to Floripa, which is great, especially in the summer. I like it, but the Northeast makes that look like Germany boringness. The Northeast is like Beleza times 10, you know what I mean? So I highly recommend everyone does that. But awesome, Mr. Mike. I appreciate you coming on,
Awesome,
adapting to
man.
my schedule. I was a little, out of it today, but it was a good time. And enjoy your Sunday night with that BBC.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. And yeah, we'll talk soon. Take care, man.
Everyone else, live bold.